Scene one night zero. Tira sat by the narrow window in her new dorm room. The distant sounds of laughter and conversation in the halls faded to white noise, almost like a memory. Outside, the deep blue of night had fully settled, casting shadows that crept along the walls as the building made the occasional creak, settling in the cool stillness. She let her gaze drift back to her diary, where empty lines waited almost expectantly, as if they too were poised to begin something new. Her pen hovered. Day one, she wrote, then paused, frowning slightly. Or maybe night zero. It's technically the night before the first day. Confusing, Max's familiar dry voice echoed in her mind. You know, any reader might wonder why you're starting your first day at night. My reader, it's just me, she replied mentally, raising an eyebrow. A good habit is a good habit, Tira, he countered, as calm and steady as always. Audience or no, she couldn't help the small smile that tugged at her lips, even as she rolled her eyes, then set the pen to paper again, writing simply, I'm here. She studied the two words. Stark and bare on the page, they held a quiet weight that seemed fitting, so she left them as they were. Her gaze drifted around the room, taking in the small cracks in the plaster, the rough edges of her desk, and the thin cobweb catching the faint light in the corner. This wasn't the polished dorm she'd pictured, but then again, a school bordering an ancient swamp likely didn't lend itself to polish. Swamp, her mind summoned an image of dark waters, winding roots, and dense mist, a place that felt quietly unsettling, as if it held secrets it would never give up freely. Strange, then, how drawn she felt to it, as though something about it matched a part of herself. A little dramatic, don't you think? Max's voice held a trace of amusement. Coming from a disembodied voice, that's rich, she thought, pressing her pen down harder as she scribbled in the margin. Rumors say the swamp is difficult. Difficult, Max echoed, a thread of humor slipping through. Difficult how? Difficult to navigate, difficult to understand. What is difficult, Tira? She considered, then gave a slight nod. Right now, trying to find the right words is difficult. Closing her diary, she let her hand linger on its worn edges, breathing in deeply to steady herself. Orientation was tomorrow, and with it, her introduction to the 4 houses. Her stomach twisted at the thought. 4 houses, each with its own values, and everyone else seems to know exactly where they belong, she thought, absently running her thumb along the cover of her diary. They've been looking forward to Manaheim all their lives since they were children. But for me, this world is all new. In truth, her arrival here felt almost like an accident. She wasn't part of any legacy or grand family history. She'd slipped through a door she hadn't expected, hoping no one would question her right to be here, wondering, really, if her position was actually meant for someone else. You were invited, Max said gently, almost perceptive. So it is your place. But what if I don't belong? She thought, though she wasn't sure if it was meant for Max to hear. There are worse things than feeling out of place, he replied softly. And Tira, everyone here has secrets. She couldn't help the small smile that tugged at her lips. Quietly, she closed the journal and set it on the bedside table. Secrets, she thought, a quiet thrill flickering through her mind. Maybe. A yawn interrupted her thoughts, and she stretched, feeling the weight of the day settling over her, grounding her in this strange new world. She opened her diary again, adding a final line. I'd like to belong here as much as they do. But maybe it's something I'll have to create for myself. Not your usual brand of optimism, Max remarked, though a warmth softened his tone. Tira tucked the diary under her pillow, letting his words resonate as she slipped under the covers. Her mind drifted back to the students she would meet, the choices she would make, and the secrets waiting within Manaheim's campus and the shadowed swamp beyond. In the silence of her room, her first night alone felt unexpectedly peaceful, the quiet holding her like a gentle promise of good things to come.